Hi, Vanessa, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes to our Cafecito visitors. I'm Valerie Zolezzi-Wyndham, and I have been looking forward to this conversation, to being in community with all of you, but also to welcoming Vanessa. We've been chatting offline for a few months now about our consulting practices since meeting in person in Boston, but we haven't had this conversation. And so I'm very excited. We're going to talk about the messy and the uncertain that comes in transition. We're going to talk about leadership as two Latinas who've moved from being leaders in organizations to launching our own. We're going to talk about identity and confianza, or trust in ourselves. So welcome, Vanessa. Thanks for joining.
Gracias. It's so beautiful to be able to speak in dos lenguajes a la misma vez.
It is. It's a beautiful thing about cafecitos.
Yes.
So I have a few questions that I'm going to ask you, but before I do that, I'd love to invite you to share 2 sentences about yourself, and not your CV, right? But sort of 2 sentences that speak to who you are.
Well, para comenzar, I am Vanessa Montero Badoino, and I should have put Badoino in my name. Originally from Peru, and grew up in South Florida and live in Massachusetts. So I have those 3 places in my heart. I am married to a man who is American and Iranian, and have 2 young girls who are tricultural. So we sing happy birthday in 3 languages.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. That's a little bit about me.
That is. Well, and your family is carrying a lot these days on all fronts.
Yes. Quite a bit.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come spend 30 minutes with me and our United Latinas community. So why don't we get started? We have these 3 questions, but I'll also, ask some follow-up questions. You're also free to, ask me a question if you want. And so I'd love to start by asking you to talk about what it feels like to be in this transition that you're in. And you can also expand on what that transition is, but what does it feel like?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm just thinking about our timing, right? And it's 1 question. I'm like, ooh, there's a lot.
It's a big question. Yeah.
So it's very paradoxical, right? Because on one end, so just to give a little context and background, I spent 15 years of my career working in corporate America under people and culture, like doing people and culture work.
Yeah.
And I've always known inside of me that I wanted to do my own thing independently. So it's always been a little itch there. And I've always wanted to go in that direction. And it wasn't until like a year and a half ago where it was like, now it's time to do it. There was something physically happening with my body. There was just all these things that were like, it's time to do it now. Yeah. So I've been on this journey now, I would say, for about maybe 8 months or so. And on one end, I feel so alive because I am so aligned to what I know I want to do. And I'm listening to this little voice. On the other end, it's so scary. And I'm finding out so many things about myself where I value achievement and somebody telling me you're doing good, or, get that promotion. And now it's me saying that.
Yeah.
So kind of navigating both worlds, where there's some times that I'm like, what did I just do? And other times, like I'm still in the right track. So it's messy. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it is uncomfortable. I mean, I'm about to be 10 years in, and it's still scary and uncomfortable.
Oh God, I thought it changes.
No, I mean, it has also been beautiful and exciting and all those things. But I want to highlight something that you named, which I also felt, we are that feeling that you feel in your body when you're ready for something else. Yes. And I think, too often we might have clues, we might sort of guess at something that's happening in us, but we don't explore it, right? We sort of push it away or ignore. And so tell me a little bit more about sort of how you figured out what that feeling was and what it meant for you.
Yeah. And, Thank you for asking that, because the younger part of me before my career always knew.
Mm.
You would have talked to that younger part of me. She's like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, like very confident and believing in herself. As I got more in my corporate career, you get comfortable, you get a salary, you're like, I'm doing well. I like my team, and I wasn't happy.
Mm.
And I didn't know that I wasn't happy until I started noticing that I wasn't that present with my kids. I wasn't that present with my community. I was just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
And, but I still kept telling myself, no, this is not the time, or no, this is really good for me. This works for me. I kept on my mind. I feel like my mind kept on saying no. And it got to the point, Valerie, where I got physically sick.
Mm.
And that was an awakening for me, to say my body now is giving me, is not a gentle nudge anymore. It's more like, you need to do something.
Yeah.
And a little bit serendipitous, where my boss at the time asked me this question, and it was all like perfect timing, where I got sick, I wanted something different. And she asked me straight point blank, Vanessa, what do you want to do? And I couldn't answer her at that moment, but that was the time where I had to be honest with myself and with what I really wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a good leader who asked you that question. And she might have been asking it in terms of the company, right? But that's also from her end, a scary question to ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the element, as you say that too, it's like, because I was asking for more training. I was asking for other things. And I think she was a fantastic leader to be like, you're asking for something else and you're afraid to ask for it. So I'm going to pose it for you. And it was a blessing, to be honest. Hardest question to answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you for listening for those feelings and then for following the clues, because even her question, right, was a part of the journey of getting you to where you are now.
Yes.
So tell me what you have learned about yourself since you made the decision. So you're now sort of in this messy phase of entrepreneurship where you're, trying to figure out what it is that you're going to do. And so what have you learned about yourself, and maybe what surprised you about what you learned?
I've been telling people that in this time of being in this new role, my growth has been so exponential. I have never been in an organization that I've grown so much. So I'm learning quite a bit. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is this element of performance, like being performative, where I've caught myself. I'm like, is this what Vanessa really wants? Or is this trying to show up as a high achievement perspective? And I wasn't aware that I did that. But really that element of like, okay, I need to show up this way versus showing up who I really am. That's been a big awakening for me.
Yeah. I mean, it is a challenge. I think in part it comes from these ideas that we have and that other people have about, who a successful entrepreneur is, what they look like, that we have to, I have someone who cares a lot about me, who is always saying to me, you have to exude confidence, and you have to show that everything is great and that you're being really successful. And I think those instincts come from society and how business works. And so we're putting all of those expectations on ourselves. And I've come to realize, though, that I can project my excellence without pretending that everything is perfect, in part because I'm asking my clients to do the same thing.
Yes.
Yes. But I think we do have to fight those urgencies in ourselves, and we have to manage the advice that we're getting from people. So I wonder how much of what you're feeling is internalized assumptions that you have, and how much of it do you think is coming from external pressure you feel?
I feel it's a mix, right? Because what you're saying with the society that we live in, right? Where it's like, oh, get out there. And it's like going out there in a way that's not authentic to me doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But it feels like that's what you must do. So I think it's the constant navigating back and forth. And a lot of actually the work that I do, it's about being in yourself, right? So I'm practicing what I'm preaching, but there is this element of the back and forth.
Yeah.
That I feel like society has a big impact on.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to be aware of it, right? Yeah.
Yes. I was also going to add being a Latina too, right? A first generation Latina, right? Where I'm like, went to college, that there's also this pressure sometimes that you feel on like, oh no, I have to be successful because my parents brought me to this country. And also letting, what is success? Redefining what that means to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you, maybe it's too early for you to name it, but do you have a sense of what success looks like? Maybe maybe not permanently, but like what would success in 2 years look like for you?
I think for me, one of my big values at this season of my life is being with my kids, right? Having that autonomy to be with them and watch them grow. So for me is being able to be a mom and have impact on, on teams, on women, on leadership, so they can actually also have what's the way to say it? Like be able to make work for them. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in work, but we forget everything around us because it's just so much. Yeah. But just being able to live and make work for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vanessa, for sharing that. And I'll say for me, when I started my company, I didn't start it because I was looking for that time with my family, but it was a huge gift to be able to build my own schedule and organize myself so I could be present for my kids because they were still home. And now that my kids are out of the house, the reasons why I'm grateful are different. So now I'm grateful that I can go to Mexico for a week and be with my family and friends and work from there. And so there is a lot of flexibility and it can change over time. So but I love the intention that you're setting for having that time with your family. It's really, really important. I want to bring in a question for you from the audience. So we have Irene who says, I don't believe in fake it till you make it. What are your thoughts on this mantra?
Oh, I don't either. And I feel like there's always an and, right? Because here's the thing. I left my corporate executive jacket and now I'm on this like entrepreneur jacket that fits a little big, but I still have to go out there in public and say who I am. Yeah. So there is an element of being vulnerable and sharing a little faking to get myself out there and to keep moving, but not to the effect of like not being authentic to yourself. That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Thank you. And I'll add, I think one of the things that has allowed me to build trust with clients is that I talk about my own, and I didn't sort of say this is when I introduced myself, but I have a company called Promoting Good. I'm a leadership and culture coach. And so I think the way that I balance Edena's question is I have expertise and I share that expertise. I have a lot to give my clients and I want to model for them what authentic leadership is. And authentic leadership is imperfect. Like leaders are going to make mistakes and it's in how we manage those mistakes that we really show our leadership. And so I think there's a way that's sort of how I balance not feeling like I have to show up perfectly and like I can acknowledge mistakes I make in a way that sort of models that for my clients. Thank you, Irene, for your comment, which I'm gonna share out. I think,
Wow.
I think a little, maybe I'll, a little bragging and right, a little bit of sharing how great we are. I don't think that's faking it. I think that's owning our excellence, which maybe as Latinos in the United States, we don't do enough, or we feel like we can't do it until we are perfect or have reached this pinnacle. And why do we do that to ourselves?
I love that you're saying that, because that's one of the things that there's two things, right? That the perfection you mentioned a couple of times. And when I started this journey, I didn't notice, but I was working on perfection. Like, let's have the best website, the best. And I'm like, what? and that's not a true belief, right? And that's not what I'm trying to model. And we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And I love your approach on like modeling to others that we make mistakes, and we all have this beautiful innate excellence and light in all of us that we need, it's hard, but sometimes one of the things I noticed for myself too is I didn't trust myself, and coming back to myself has been a big part of this journey.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. What do you mean when you say that you didn't trust yourself? And maybe also, and do you remember when you did last trust yourself?
Well, I feel that going up in my corporate career, right? It's been like a check that like, I need to do this, right? And this is what my manager told me I need to grow. So there's been a lot of like automation in what I need to do. And when I went in my own route, I didn't have anybody telling me what I needed to do but me. So I had to do a lot of inner work to understand. It's like, look, ¿qué quiere Vanessa? What does Vanessa want to do? Yes, I was this, I was that, but what does Vanessa really want? And sometimes the voices will come out of Vanessa, this performative person doing this versus like, ¿qué quiere Vanessa? And I think I've always had it, but now I would say I'm deeper in understanding what that looks like for me.
Yeah.
And there are moments, Valerie, where I'm like, "Ooh, I have to pause and be like, is this Vanessa or is this the other part?"
Yeah. And it's also okay to say we don't know. I think sometimes we don't know, and naming that is also a really helpful thing to do, because it gives you time to not make a choice and to explore your options.
Yes, I love that. And that's part of being in the messy middle right now, where it's unknown.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah. So I want to go to our third question, which is, you are working with women, with Latina leaders. What are you learning from those conversations about either how they're trying to find themselves again, or returning to themselves, or what you hope for them?
So I feel like there's so much beauty in our culture, and it's so profound how united, how loving, how caring we are. And at the same time, sometimes as women, what I've been noticing is that we care so much for others that we don't care for ourselves. And that I was that person. I think working on that, right? And my mom didn't have the privilege to care for herself. She had to care so much for others. So I think there is that big importance of like pausing and saying, what do I need? What do I want? And as it relates to the workplace in particular, right? I was just recently reading the McKinsey report, the McKinsey report for women in the workplace that comes out every year. And it's very sad to see that Latino women, right? They're the most ambitious, yet they have the steepest climb up the ladder. Yeah. And there's an element there of also helping, women to be able to advocate for ourselves and have that agency, where sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
whether it's language or the way that we're brought up, right? You got to be humble to put your head down. So how to balance the taking care of ourselves and advocating for ourselves is something that is really important for me as I've navigated corporate America that I love to help women with. And what I would love to leave women with is, I guess, three things, right? Is this element of believing in ourselves. Like we all have something that's beautiful. And let's remember that. The element of community, which I feel like we all do so well. And I'm so happy to be part of this group, United Latinas, because having a village, having people to rely on is so important because we're not alone, you know? And then the last thing is the trusting the process, right? Once you know what you want to do and you're clear, like just trust that process. Things are going to flow, you know?
Yeah, I mean, right. They'll flow even if it feels a little messy sometimes, but they
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And trust it. I mean, it's hard. Some days I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to go apply for jobs. You know?
Yeah. No, and I mean, maybe one day you will again, but you need to give this time for sure.
Yes.
I was with a group of Latinos, Latina and Latino folks in Worcester yesterday, and we were talking about that gap we were talking about it specifically for Latinas, where we are capped, at that manager level, sort of never getting to the director or more senior SVP level. And one of the things that we were just discussing yesterday is that I think it's a two-part problem. One is, we need to know our worth and we have to manage our cultural drivers that I've learned a lot about from Bridgify, from El Puente Institute. And I think we and leaders also need to do the work on the institutional side to understand the ways in which, corporate systems are not giving Latinas the same opportunities that others are being given. So I think we have our own work to do, and I think sometimes we can feel like it's all on us, and there's also the systems that have to shift. And so what I love about the McKinsey reports is that they often are naming the work that needs to happen on both sides. And I want to say that here so that people know we're thinking about both sides of the work.
Yes. No, Thank you for sharing that, because when we look at the career ladder, right? It wasn't built for women. It wasn't built for Latina women. So there's a lot of systems work, and what you're saying there's work that we can do. And there's a lot of internal work that we can do.
Yes, no, 100%. So I will have one last question for you, because we have a few minutes left. But before I get to that, I want to thank you for acknowledging that this United Latinas community has been helpful to you, that you feel at home in it. I'm a proud board member of United Latinas and have found so many wonderful friends and network building and just good community in this space. I want to invite you and others listening to join us for the Brave Voices Summit that's going to be in Charlotte on April 23rd. There are some absolutely fabulous speakers who will be there, and there are still tickets available. So if you're near Charlotte or want to pop on a quick flight, it'd be great for you to join us. And so I want to close by asking you to share some advice with the audience. So if somebody is where you were maybe a year or so ago with that feeling of I'm ready for something else, or something's happening in me, what would be your advice for them?
I would say, if that little voice is talking to you and it's faint, I would say don't let it wait to get super loud that it stops you in your tracks. Listen to it, understand what it means for you, right? And it doesn't mean that you need to like flip your life upside down in one day, but just what can something else look like for me if your voice is telling you to do something else, or anybody, I would say, going through any transition, right? Whether it's a new role, a new area, just listen to yourself. And I would say the other thing that I've been telling myself is intentional patience.
Mm.
Just being really intentional with the patience for myself.
I love it. I love it. So how can people find you, Vanessa?
So I am on LinkedIn, Vanessa Montero. I also have the company that I run. It's called Rooted Impact Co. I guess it's www.rootedimpactco.com. And those are my two channels right now.
That's awesome. Well, Vanessa, it has been a pleasure to spend time with you and to talk about the messy and the uncertain. And I look forward to running into you here in Massachusetts and to following your entrepreneurship journey. I know it's going to be successful. And I believe we're going to have the chance to collaborate somewhere along the line.
I hope so. It was wonderful being with you, Valerie. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And we'll see you back next Wednesday for the next Cafecito. Have a beautiful day.
All right.